Yeah, I've talked to Coach Spurrier about NIL. Do you ever think about that and how much, what you could have been able to get? Because you were a very popular player here for 4 years.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you like, but I also, to being older and realizing the trappings of it all, and kind of thinking long term, yeah, it would have been great to uh to get some money and have some money while you were playing. And whether, I mean, that's 50,000, 100,000. Some guys maybe getting $1 million. I mean, that's awesome. That's some great money. But keeping a long term perspective, I think, is getting lost on a lot of guys, and then the whole system. I mean, everything we talk about, whether it's you know. Presidents and directors, everybody who's involved in coach and leadership in college sports, everybody's talking about making money, whether it's in revenue, who's making what,
Yeah.
and nobody's talking about developing young people, right? So the point
Well,
is missed. I mean, I'm not saying it was perfect, but obviously the focus was let's win some football games. But I think it was coaches and athletic directors, the focus. We're at a university. Let's develop.
another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another edition of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Appreciate everybody for clicking on and watching and listening. Today's guest is going to be Terry Jackson. Gator great. Boy, no doubt about that. We love Terry Jackson. And I actually ran into him at Spurrier's the night before the spring game. And I said, "Hey, man, I need to get you on the pod." And he said, "Yeah, I'll be happy to do it." So we're going to have him on. I will just a programming note. Coach Spurrier will not be here the next 2 Mondays because he's playing in that big golf tournament. I think it's at Reynolds Plantation, where all the coaches get together and play. And of course, they show him a great time. He's got it made, believe me. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, so we're going to get other guests to fill in for him. And on Monday, we're going to have Jimmy Himes. And I know a lot of you know Jimmy Himes. He's been on this show before. He's been on a lot of shows you've heard. A longtime columnist up there in Knoxville, a longtime radio personality in Knoxville, semi-retired. He's kind of retired like me, where he's still doing some stuff. So we'll have him on Monday for sure. And then we'll go from there. I think we're still trying to get the commissioner to come on. And I don't know what day. We're giving them different dates, and we'll see which date we can get him on. I think I'll probably get Scott Strickland on again very soon, and we appreciate him as well. I will say this: I am fighting the allergy, so if I'm rubbing noses and eyes, they just this time of year when it starts to get warm and the air conditioners everywhere you go are blowing, it just lights me up, including in my car. So, but anyway, hey, look, I did this show through 2 bouts with COVID, so I could do it through allergies. But if I sound goofy, you understand that. Okay. All right, let's get to our Royal Blue starting 5 on a week where there is a lot going on. And we appreciate our friend Randy Royal over there at Royal Blue, and we'll get to our Royal Blue starting 5 because there's a lot to talk about. All right, let's start off number 1 on the Royal Blue starting 5 with baseball, because look, that was an important win for them on Tuesday night, just to get the win. I mean, we're at the point now where every win is precious, because we all know what's coming up for Florida. A very difficult finish to the schedule, which includes obviously this weekend against Arkansas, which is really good. But you just need to get as many wins as possible. And it's so weird how last year's team could not win the midweeks. This year's team is 7-0 at home in midweek games, which is pretty good. That it's very good, in fact. But I mean, look, Florida's not playing. Well, I would say Northwestern State, but Northwestern State ruled LSU Tuesday night. So no, I mean, look, but they're playing pretty good programs, and this state teams are going to be good. Florida's undefeated also against the state right now. And I think they only have 1 game left. Yeah, there's one more midweek, USF on May 6th. So that's good to get that win. Good to get the pitching. Again, there was still the issue of leadoff walks that it's going to drive Sully. I would say it turn him gray, but he's already gray, pretty gray. But he's not going to be fingernails left. He's a fingernail chewer. Like Galen Hall, remember? He would be over there chewing his fingers on third down. And I will say I'm a fellow fingernail biter, so I bite my fingernails too. That was actually Robbie asked Danny Werfel one time if he had any faults, any flaws, and Werfel said, "Yeah, I do bite my fingernails." So look, geniuses all bite their fingernails. Sully, Danny Werfel, me. You know I don't mean that. All right. So anyway, that was certainly a good win to get that one against Georgia's Southern team. They're not great or anything, but you needed to get that win, and to get out with a run rule especially was good. So now it's Arkansas, on to Arkansas, and it's going to be important. Look, the bottom line is they have to get to 12 to get into the tournament. 12 wins in the SEC. And it's not going to be easy. They're at 6. That means they have to win 6 more games, and I think they have 4 series, so half of the 12, and they're against very difficult teams. One of them's not so difficult in South Carolina, but again, college baseball and all baseball to me is the most unpredictable sport because you never know in a particular game what's going to happen. Like when Florida is playing, I don't know, Albany State in basketball. No, that's not a good one. It's Albany, actually, and Florida beat Albany in the tournament one year. But it was a tough game. Just say a mediocre team in baseball. It's different, you know. And again, these state teams really care about beating Florida. It's their big chance to get RPI numbers and everything like that. So Florida's in good shape in RPI. We all know that, but you can't think you're going to get in with 11 wins. I don't think so. I think they could sneak in the league. But, and again, last year in basketball, Florida, the SEC got 14 teams in, which was an all-time record, blew away the old record. 14 teams in, 2 of them got in with 6 wins in conference play, 6-12. So, maybe you could, 6-10 actually, yeah. Maybe you could get in with 11 wins. 12, I think you're definitely in. 13, there's no question you can maybe even host. So we'll see what happens. But look, this series, I'm not saying Florida's got to go in there and win all 3 games. I'm not saying they've got to win 2. They got to win 1. I will say that. They can't allow a home series to just go away and not like they did Vanderbilt. And Arkansas pitches like Vanderbilt. So they better have it ready to go. And look, hey, this is what you want, right? Everybody wants this in whatever sport you're playing. You get to the end of the year and you say, hey, I want big games. I want games that matter, and I want to be able to win them, and I want to show that I have the clutch gene. And I think there are players on this team that do have that clutch gene. There's not enough of them. So far, there have not been enough of them, and they're going to have to show it this weekend. We'll see what they are able to do. All right, let us move along to number 2 on our Royal Blue. Starting 5, and that is what happened last night. In softball, I watched some of that game. Karen and I have this show that we like to watch. So on nights that we cook at home, we tend to we put the TV tables out just like any couple would, any old couple would. And we watch different shows that we like to watch. And the one we finished up last night was called Running Point. And it's Kate Hudson. She's basically Jeannie Buss. It's the same story. And it's really good, really well done, really well acted. And we've enjoyed it, the first series of it. And there's going to be a second series anyway. But I was watching that, so I missed a lot of the softball game. But I came back and watched the highlights and everything. And of course, they got the run rule win again. That is 23 run rule wins for Florida. That's a lot of run rule wins, and they've done it, I think, to almost everybody in the state. They're 7-0 against the state. So. They've done really well. It's again a big weekend for them because the softball team is like they're in the tournament. There's no doubt about that, and they are going to host the first round. We all know that. But can you want to host the Super Regional? And that's, it's important to play at home. We all know how important it is to play at home in every sport. I think the biggest home field advantage is in golf because the course changes, every hole changes. Um, but I think baseball is another one, and softball are another one because you get to bat last a lot of the time. So anyway, the point is, Florida now goes and faces LSU on the road, one of those Saturday through Monday. We'll get you our swamp games of the weekend. Some of those, in fact, all of those are on actual TV. So that'll be great. I'm looking forward to that. But they have this big series with LSU. LSU's 6th, I think, in RPI. Florida's 2nd in RPI, which is a lot of that is because they won the series against Texas A&M, which is number 1 in RPI. Anyway, I know that Christine and Steve Wendig, who present the Circle every Monday, are excited about that. Our Boss Heart Realtors are excited about getting to that point where you get some big games. And of course, those are on the road, and then they come home and play Oklahoma, the 4-time defending national champs, at home before the SEC tournament. The midweek games are over for them. Florida does have one more midweek, I mentioned earlier, in baseball, but softball's in a great spot, and they just need to finish strong. And look, they're not sweeping these 2 teams, okay? I think they can beat LSU. I think they could win that series. Oklahoma, sure. Oklahoma's not as good as they've been, but they're still really good. They could. I mean, I would love if they can go and take 2 out of 3 from both these teams. They may end up the 1 seed because their RPI would be a 1. I think. Well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be exciting, and that's the great thing. And not everybody is into this time of year, because not everybody wants to watch women play softball. I love it. I adore it. I've been out there to the World Series many times. I love it. And some people find baseball too boring. But not many. I do think fans in this city, because you don't get a lot of foreign traffic, you know what I mean, from Lake City and Jacksonville and Tampa. But fans who are around this and like to go to these games have embraced, obviously, the new ballpark and the improvements they made several years ago to the softball park they like, and they show up, man. They show up for these games. So I think it's great. I love that we have an opportunity to go to these games, and even watching them on TV is just so much fun that to watch spring sports. I love it. Anyway, okay, that's all I had on. Oh, I wanted to mention the homer that Holtorf hit, because Riley Holtorf, that game was going nowhere. It was like nobody could really get anything going, and then she just destroyed one, and it just like it was like pulling the cork out of the dike, and just letting the water flow. And Florida obviously ruled them 9-1. So good win for the Gators. All right, let's move along to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that will be something that I always seem to have sad stuff. And again, I think this is because I'm old, so I a lot of people pass away that I have a special either relationship with or know a lot about. But anyway, 2 people this week that passed away that I wanted to bring to your attention. And I'm sure most of you know all this. Mike Patrick was a guy that I knew pretty well, actually. He worked in Jacksonville before he went to ESPN, and of course was great on ESPN. He called the game that Brad Wilkerson hit the grand slam as a freshman on his birthday, and then closed it. Still one of the damnedest thing I've ever seen. He was at the College World Series for that. Yeah, we knew each other, and we knew to talk to each other, and we had stories to tell. We weren't close or anything, but it's certainly tragic to hear about his passing away at 80, I think he was. And then also another real tragedy, Steve McMichael. I did cover games. I covered a lot of games he played in, because for some reason they kept sending me to Chicago. In fact, my friend Bernie Lincecum at the Chicago Tribune would look up and go, "Why are you here again?" But the Times Union kept sending me up there. I loved it, man. I got to go see so much, and it was great. But anyway, I got to cover a lot of his games. He had a terrible battle with ALS, and I think a lot of people were aware of it. Mongo, one of the best linemen you'll ever see. But yeah, just again, when ALS takes anybody, it's always it feels just painful. We've seen all the different people that have gone because of that, and one of them I knew very well, Chuck Dale. So, and then Mike Patrick, certainly prayers for everybody and condolences. Let's move along to number 4. We'll get out of this negative mood and talk about the draft. It is draft day. It is one of my favorite movies. It may be one of my favorite football movies of all time. I love that movie. It's just so funny. Pancake eating, anyway, you know the movie, I think. But it's really good. Realistic, a little bit. It's kind of realistic. I don't think it ever gets that realistic. But anyway, it all ends up good for everybody and everybody's happy at the end. But then anyway, we'll see what happens tonight. The big story seems to be, is Shedeur Sanders going to go in the first round? He could be the 3rd pick in the draft or not drafted in the first round. That is the difference. And as you change channels on Sirius, you keep getting third. Oh, the Giants are taking him 3rd. I think the Saints are going to take him. What is Saints, like 10 or 12, somewhere in there? And then, no, he's not getting drafted. People don't want to deal with the baggage. They don't want to deal with the attitude. They don't want to deal with his dad doing the negotiations, which he's also going to do for Travis Hunter, he says. So anyway, I look, I don't care that much. I do understand it. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a dynamic player. I think he's a really good player, and I think he could play in the NFL for a while. And I think as a backup, I don't know that he would get a lot of starts. I don't know that you're going to win a lot of games with a guy who dinks and dunks, but he's certainly talented. And he did play behind a terrible offensive line. We all know that, but I just don't know how good he is. I think it's a risky pick. But again, what do I know? I'm not sitting watching tape. I haven't interviewed him. So I'll just see what happens. The Jaguars, I think, will take Genty. I don't think they'll trade out. We had John Osher from Jaguars.com on yesterday. Really good interview on the radio on the tailgate. And he was talking about they could make a trade. So we'll see if they trade up or trade back. They could trade up. I don't know who they would go for, to be honest with you. I don't think I don't think Genty will go before that. I'm not 100% sold on Genty, but people keep telling me I'm wrong about that. So I guess I am. So I'm not gonna. If the Jaguars take him 5th, I won't criticize the pick. I think the most criticism they ever got was when they drafted that punter. What was that punter's name? I'm trying to remember. He's a really good punter. He's still in the league, I think. But it was like the 2nd round or something like that. And they would never draft, for a long time, they would never draft SEC players, which, the SEC is the best conference in football. Are aware of that. We could argue now the Big Ten is, certainly. But, I mean, then there's no question who it was. What'll happen for Miami at 13? Will they trade up? Will they trade down? I'm going to pencil them in for Mason Graham, pick him, and then the interesting. There's a guy I'm trying to remember. A lot of names are coming at me, but there was a guy they were talking about, really good player, but he only weighs 153-pound wide receiver, and I'm like, you know what? That sounds like a Miami Dolphin to me. A guy who could really run, but he's not thick, but he can get by people. We'll see. But anyway, I think Mason Graham, and then Tampa Bay's picking 19th. Now, again, all this can change. I have penciled in Emeka Akuba. It's one of those things. A really talented wide receiver. I think they need to go get another wide receiver. So I think that's going to be interesting to me. To me, the 2nd round is more interesting than the first. Because the 2nd round is when teams really address their needs. They fall in love with people in the 1st round, but they really address them in the 2nd round. All right, we got to go get a second wide receiver now. Okay, now is when we have to go do it. Now we have to get a right guard. We addressed that we didn't have a rush end in the 1st round, but now we have to go get a right guard, somebody to plug in there. Anyway. So that is what I have to say about the draft. We have some more things coming up during the other segments. Let's pardon me? Brian Anger. That's right. Yeah, and I think he's in the league still, but he's He's a pretty good punter, but you don't draft a punter that high. What in the world are you thinking about? I mean, that's Ray Guy's not walking through that door. All right, let's get to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5. And that is that Florida got another basketball player, and A.J. Brown has signed with the Gators. A.J. Brown played at Ohio last year, averaged about 13 a game. Pretty good player. I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. I do know he's Isaiah Brown's brother. And, of course, Isaiah's on the team right now, and they like him a lot. A.J. Brown's 6'4", and that's the thing. They like their guards to be big and long. And that's what they ended up with Clayton, with Will Richard, and playing those 3 guards. So hopefully he'll be a good addition. As all these people keep going into the portal, and you see all these big names at guards. Oh, this guard and the kid from Haggerty from Memphis, is in the portal. R.J. Lewis in the portal. All these people. You go, oh, that sounds like a guy Florida should get. But this is where, again, you have to trust your coaches, guys, because they know how to build it in terms of getting the right people in. And look, this program was totally stunned that Denzel Aberdeen left, okay? They talked all the time about how he was everything they wanted. So, but those things happen. Agents get involved, dads get involved. Don't worry about it. But I will say this, I'm giving them the credit to figure out the guys that they want in there. Look, they did it. They know what to do. And they even get a pass for about a year and a half, right? Although, no, probably till like the first SEC game of the year. But anyway, all right. So A.J. Brown, not the wide receiver, but the basketball player, is a new member of the Florida basketball team. So they've got some really good players for next year. There's no doubt. CI's son signing. They got a shooting guard from Florida that's going to be coming in. And obviously the big guys, if they can get them to come back, and I think they will, but you never know. You never know what people are going to tell them. So I think they will, though. I think they're just doing exactly what Will and Walter did last year. All right. So that's going to do it for our Royal Blue starting 5. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, Terry Jackson will join us, and we'll play a little yes, no way, or maybe with him. I got good questions for him. This is another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. The kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform, makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today. At Royal Blue, we use such tools as AI, bulk email marketing, trade shows, Google search advertising, and multiple websites. We take a much more proactive approach to getting your boat sold in a timely manner. With our extensive client list and broker-dealer network, we can track down vessels that might be perfect for you and your family, that may not even be listed for sale yet, giving you the right of first refusal. We have spent the last 15 years in boat sales, observing and listening to our clients. In response to our findings, we have constructed a custom yacht brokerage that strives to fit their needs and not ours. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. What a pleasure it is to bring in one of the greats in Florida history, the great Terry Jackson, joining us today on the show. Terrence, how are you today?
I am great, blessed. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing well. I do like your displays back there on the wall. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, my wife, she put stuff together. If it was me, I wouldn't have none of that if it wasn't for her.
Well, the 22s, you like to see that 22 coming at you. Who's wearing 22 now? Do you care who wears your number?
Not really. My nephew's still on the team, so he's there. He's wearing it.
Oh, he is. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Khalil's there.
Khalil, yeah.
Yeah.
See, when I was younger, I knew everybody's number. Now it's like I don't.
Because you got duplicate numbers. It's hard to follow now, and people leave after a year, so it's really hard to follow now.
Yeah, number one. No, the other number one.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about, because you were here for the spring game, what you thought about what you saw there on Saturday a couple weeks ago.
I think the run game. I've always been impressed with the way we run the football and make a point to kind of run the football. But that was what stood out the most. I really like those backs and how they give them the ball, feed them the ball, and let them be creative and make plays. So that's probably. This regime, that the run game and wanting to run the ball and it being the main thing what we do, I think that was the most impressive thing I saw.
Yeah, I told somebody, I said, this may be the best running back room they've had since '96, which obviously that was pretty good, though, with you and Eli and Fred.
Yeah.
You never knew who was going to start, did you?
Never. It was week to week, and it even got to the point where we just kind of, we would just rotate. It's your series. It's your series. Okay. So, it just, you go, then you go, then you go. And then unless an injury happens to take place, then somebody will kind of take over and you'll see how they should play all the time. But it was just, that's just what it was. We had a good group of guys, and it wasn't just the guys behind us was probably just as good, whether that's Eugene and then later on, Ernest and Robert and plenty of guys is on there. Can't even name everybody, but all those guys could play.
Yeah, it was. I remember walking on the turf at the Superdome.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 days before the game, probably, with Carl Franks. Carl Franks and I have been close for a long time, and I'm watching. I go, "Who's going to start?" And he got at running back, and he goes, "I haven't decided yet." And I can't remember. I think Fred started, didn't he?
Oh, don't give me a line. Probably. It was just kind of hot hand. And it would be play to play because Coach Spurrier may have a special play. So, Eli ran a lot of the route stuff. So sometimes it just depending on what the play was, who would start, and then they would start that series. And then because we was rotating, and then if somebody got hot, they may stay in an extra series. But it just depended on what plays we got called too.
Yeah, I did want to ask you. I've always wanted to ask you this question. At what point did you decide you were going to dive into the end zone on that 52-yard touchdown run against FSU that basically ended the game? Basically, that game was over at that point.
Well, once I knew I was going to score, I figured. I was there. I think I saw somebody do it before. I said I knew the game was over. So penalty, it didn't matter at that point. So once I knew that was going to be the game if I scored. So I was like, I'm diving. This is it right here. I knew that was it. So. No matter what happened, we couldn't have a choking. That couldn't happen again after that point. So it was just let's just have some fun with this.
Yeah, and it wiped out a lot of I don't know. Gator fans have been through a lot. You talked about choking doke, but I go back to the old days, and with your dad when your dad was playing. Florida never. It was always wait till next year, and then all of a sudden this was the ultimate year. And that moment is kind of
Mhm.
like the moment when everybody talks about that game, that and the Ike catch and run,
Yeah.
the jump stop were the
Yeah.
two plays they always remember.
Yeah, definitely. I said, me growing up a Gainesvillian and a Gator fan, a lifelong Gator. I mean, I've been through all those moments in all the sports, and just like, okay, this is it, and this is it. Nothing could happen. We finally got over that hump, and that's it. When you get over that hump, now it could happen, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
won a state championship. Same thing. I won a state championship in high school basketball. It was like, okay, we were up 30 points in that game, and we ended up going in overtime. And so you just always know it's never over, right?
Yeah, I think I told you this the other day when I saw you, that Robbie and I were talking about how we'd never celebrated anything before, but we did the other night when Florida won the basketball championship. We were jumping up and down. We were
Yeah.
excited. But Robbie said, the only time we did this was a celebration. He turned to me when you scored and said, Florida's going to win the national championship. Because we were like, I don't. We always think they're gonna, and they finally did it.
Yeah, yeah. See, now you just think it's supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
So we get a little spoiled, but before that time, you're like, okay, will it ever happen? Like, you're just happy to being, we were like on one, number two, number three, top five every year. You were just happy that was the case. We were a top team, but to actually win it, there wasn't really the expectation. Was like, okay, if you grew up a Gator, you kind of like maybe it happens, but you just happy to be around, right? And when we
Yeah,
won
exactly.
that, it was like, okay, now this should happen every year.
And especially after the year before, I mean,
Mhm.
that was devastating to be there and think you had a chance at it, and we all thought you did, but that was maybe the best college football team in the history of football because
Yeah.
they got guys out of prison to come play. So
No, that was I seen some of those guys from Nebraska at an NFLPA event, and I said, y'all had to be on something. I mean, that team was just unbelievable. He said, no, man, we just worked really hard. I said, okay, with y'all, that was a really great team. But I think our team that was probably one of our better teams. I think we kind of took it for granted. Like we knew we were destined at some point to win. Coach Spurrier's mindset. I mean, he's just the winner, and like we felt it. Like we felt built off of his energy and having confidence. That season was easy, right? We watched film on Nebraska and it's like, okay, we about to dominate them. They playing games in the Big Ten, winning games 17-10. We don't score less than 40, 50 points. So we honestly we thought we were going to blow them out. I thought we thought it was going to be a blowout, and I think we prepared that way in our mindset. And as soon as the first play of the game, they had another idea. They were all business. We were kind of out there playing a game. They were they were working. So it was a different mindset, and I thought that taught us a valuable lesson for that next year.
I knew you were in trouble. You guys were in trouble when they brought their entire weight room out there. They had to lift during that week, and make sure that they were, set up. But that was, certainly good. I want to ask you about this because you mentioned Coach Spurrier. You played for Coach Spurrier and you worked for Coach Meyer. And there's probably a trait that you see in both those guys that is one reason they were both so successful. I'm just curious what that would be.
I think it's different. You mean it's more than one way? It's completely different. I think Coach Spurrier, being a great player, and he's just a confident person, right? He puts in the work and just totally. When you have belief in yourself and belief in what you're doing, it bleeds to everybody else, right? Like he says something in practice. If you do it like this, it's gonna work, right? And it was also one of those things where, like, okay, I'm gonna put the guy who listens and does it the way I tell him to do it in the game, right? No matter if you're a 1-star, 2-star, I'm gonna put you in, And I think his confidence and him being so ahead of what everybody else was doing gave us that we had multiple advantages. Now with Coach Meyer, it was like, okay, I'm gonna put your head in the water and make you drink this water, and like this is how we're gonna do it. Right? So totally different type of styles. I'm gonna make you be what you don't want to be. And I think guys have to get in line and say it's fun after you win. We'll have fun after we winning. Right? So it's two totally different styles. Coach Meyer was more of a kind of a CEO type too, like, Coach Spurrier, I'm gonna run this offense. We're gonna defensive people, y'all do what you do. Coach Meyer was every detail, everything about training room, any aspect of everything was his focus, and making sure every moment, every detail was in a line. So two
Yeah.
totally different styles, but both can be very effective. And you can, like I said, like both of them say, the fun is in winning, right? You're going to work hard, you're going to do certain way, but it was a one more CEO, one to handle his business on this side and allow your people to do things. The other one was like, okay, this is how it's going to be, and everybody we got is going to be this type of way. So two totally different, but can be very effective.
And I've talked to Coach Spurrier about NIL, and he's like, I wouldn't want to be coaching right now.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
mean, I do you ever think about that and how much, what you could have been able to get, because you were a very popular player here for 4 years.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you be like, but I also, to being older and realizing the trappings of it all, and kind of thinking long term, yeah, it would have been great to to get some money and have some money while you were playing. And whether, I mean, that's 50,000, 100,000. Some guys maybe getting $1 million. I mean, that's awesome. That's some great money. But keeping a long term perspective, I think, is getting lost on a lot of guys, and then the whole system. I mean, everything we talk about, whether it's you know. Presidents and directors, everybody who's involved in coach and leadership in college sports, everybody's talking about making money, whether it's in revenue, who's making what,
Yeah.
and nobody's talking about developing young people, right? So the point is missed. I mean, I'm not saying it was perfect, but obviously the focus was let's win some football games. But I think it was coaches and athletic directors, the focus. We're at a university, let's develop. I think that was a priority. And not saying that coaches don't want that now, but the focus is because the money is so much, right? Your focus is going to lean towards, what's kind of that side of it. So I think we, from the heart down, the money has kind of mucked up and what's really important in the whole space. I think I mean, I would prefer, we know it's exploitive even then, but I would prefer, I like that people are actually getting paid and actually have a voice. But I do think it could be done a better way, and we're doing things that's not in the long term best interest of young people.
Absolutely not. And it's 8,000 guys get in the portal, and some of them don't even land anywhere. And I
Yeah.
just, it's really tragic to think about the graduation rates and what they're going to look like one day.
Mhm.
We are talking to Terry Jackson on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. And Terry now is in Atlanta and does mentoring and also takes care of his two youngsters, 5 and 7. How are they doing?
They're doing awesome. Solomon is in the second grade. He's 7 years old, and Honor, my daughter, she's in pre-K. They both, she graduates pre-K in like 2-3 weeks. So that's exciting.
It is.
I think it's different when, I mean, growing up, I don't ever remember my parents. I mean, they used to come to stuff, but it's almost like every week I got something I gotta go to. I gotta remember some type of I gotta be at it. It's just hilarious a lot, but it's awesome. It's awesome.
It sounds like my parents. My parents are like, "Hey, we're going out. You guys figure it out tonight." All
Exactly.
right. I did want to ask you about because tonight's the draft, obviously the
Mhm.
first round of the draft. For your draft experience, you went into fifth round. You probably knew you weren't going to go that high, but I mean, was it disappointing in any way, or did you even pay attention to it and just
Uh,
somebody call me when it's over?
Oh no, it's definitely eye opening, and definitely was disappointment, right? Because I mean, you played against these guys, you played with a lot of guys, so you know the players, right? And you're
Right.
seeing people get drafted, you like, come on now, like what are we doing here, right? But it's based on kind of measurables. People go in there, scouts look at 40 times, right? They look at certain different way guys move, but they don't really, and that's why you got so many people who don't pan out in the draft, right? You're not really looking at those intangibles that make players and make you, kind of be successful, but you understand what it is. But I definitely was, I mean, that's when the draft was. The first 3 rounds were
Yeah.
the first day and the second round. So that first day, I probably had 6 teammates drafted, and I'm obviously happy for them. But I mean, I remember going home, and I think Mike Pete lived right across the street. We all lived in the Wine Village, and him and all his friends was partying and celebrating. And he's like, "Yo, you heard anything yet?" He's like, "Nah, not yet, Coach. I'm still waiting." So I had to wait a whole nother day. I actually remember that next day I was actually, me, my brother, and my nephew I was headed to the golf course. I was at the UF golf course. I was about to go play golf, and we had to wait for our tea time, so we had walked out, and my mom actually was living close to that point, so we went back to the house, and I got a call, and it was from the 49ers, and I was like, well, you know what? At least if I ain't getting drafted, I'm going to a good team.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Tom Rathman who would call me, and as soon as I walked back in the house, I saw my name on the TV. So it was, I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get that opportunity and to go through that whole process. I mean, I played maybe 6, 7 games in my last 2 years. I tore my ACL my junior year, and then the senior, I had a high ankle sprain and missed 6 or so games.
Right.
So
Remember that,
I mean, I'm fortunate just to have that opportunity, and it ended up working out. I played 7 years out there, had a great time, and it was awesome.
And I want to point this out: average 4.7 yards a carry.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I tease. I work out with a group of former players, NFL players up here, and I work out with a lot of Bulldogs. And Garrison Hurst, me and him were teammates the whole time out there. And like I think it was like my free agency year. I was the third down back, so I did all third down stuff. I was having a great year. I think I got the game ball playing against Buffalo. And after that game, Tom Rathman comes to me and says, Terry, Garrison's complaining about not getting enough touches. So I'm gonna let him do your third downs, and you continue.
Yeah.
Kevin Barlow was our other running back who switched. He said, I'm gonna let you continue to do his third down. So I went from getting, maybe 30, 40 plays to about 10 or 12, 15 plays a game. And I never really got that opportunity again. And I tease him every day, say, you got me. I said, you got me right there, coach. And he's like, yeah, you was doing too good. You was doing too good out on the field. But I respected him. I love Garrison. He's a great player and learned a lot from him, and they love the opportunity. But that's how it goes in the pros, right? When you get an opportunity, you got to seize it and hopefully continue to get those chances.
Actually, by the way, I was at Mike Peterson's house when he got drafted. So
were you? Okay.
Yeah, because I knew he was going to go in the first round, but he wouldn't come out of the bedroom. He was in the bedroom until he got drafted, and then he came out.
No, it's a tense time, right? I mean, you talking about between 20 minutes and an hour. I mean, that's millions of dollars, right? So I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
So it's tense times, but it's also fun. I mean, you got to take it. It's what it is. You just want to get an opportunity to get your foot in the door, and as long as you just even being mentioned in that process, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's quite a fraternity. All right, it is time for us to play Yes, No Way, or Maybe with Terry Jackson, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. If you go there and say you listen to this, you get free fries with your order. Okay, number one, yes, no way, or maybe, Terry Jackson. You would be surprised to know that we have the same middle name.
No way.
Yeah, Bernard.
What?
Patrick Bernard Dooley, because that was my grandfather's name.
Really? Okay.
Is Terrence Bernard? Is Bernard a family name?
That's my dad's middle name and my brother's middle name, and one of my sisters, her middle name is Benandra.
Well, at least we have that in common, Terry. I can tell you. All right, number two on Yes, No Way, or Maybe. You have been to Alcatraz.
Well, yes.
Because I went there once, actually, when I was out visiting out there in San Francisco.
Yeah. I figured in your travels, you've gone to California and the Bay Area. And if you go to the Bay Area, that's one of the first spots they take you, down to the pier and Alcatraz. I was supposed to go, but like I said, I got drafted by there. So at least I'm going to a warm place because I don't like playing in cold. And we were down there. It was freezing in the summer. I was like, I'm ready to go.
I went to a game in Candlestick a long time ago, and it was in July, and it was so cold. I thought we had to leave. It was too cold.
The wind is ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, and finally, number three on Yes, No Way, or Maybe. You would beat Willie, your brother, in a 40-yard dash today.
Yes. he would fight and argue about that, but yes, he weighing about 240, 245. I'm gonna get him. We raced up a hill not too long ago at my house, so that 3-4 years ago. So I think, and I actually been working out a little bit now. So yeah, I think I'll get him in the 40 now.
I tell you, Willie, and you know what a fan I was of yours when you played here, but Willie was a man playing with guys. I mean, I would watch the games and I would go, Willie Jackson is just a man. He would go up and get balls that you didn't think he could get, but and you certainly gave us a lot of great memories, and we appreciate you so much. And it was great seeing you the other night, Terry. So thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate you, all you've done for the Gators, Gator Nation, Gainesville. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you. We'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Okay, and welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Appreciate all of our sponsors, and certainly appreciate all of our great guests. So we just continue to try to hit you with good guests. And look, that's something that I think we're getting near 450, Zach, isn't that right, episode-wise? I think we're almost up to 450 episodes, which is amazing. That's a lot of guests. But yeah, the phone, I've gone through it. I keep going through it and going through it and going through it, and then I go back to it and I go, yeah, this would be because I'm trying to always make it appropriate for what's going on, right now. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to our fun stuff that we do in the third segment, starting with our Hesser and Kipky. 3 things. And you guys all know Hesser and Kipke, and you can reach them at 352-339-9920 or at www.hklawfl.com. All of your workers' compensation and family law needs, that's the place to go. Hesser and Kipke. We appreciate them. Number 1 on the 3 things. I talked about the draft earlier, but the interest, and this is an interesting thing to me anyway, maybe not anybody else. Florida is not going to have much impact on this draft. There's a possibility nobody will be picked till the 5th round, and that will be guys like Shamir Dike, Shamar James, guys like that, and they're going to go. There's a real possibility it could be 5 through 7 will be when all the Gators are picked. Probably 5 or 6 guys. Cam Jackson will get picked, but very late. And that says something not about what Florida's developed, but where they were and what the reason it's maybe taken them so long. Because now Florida is sitting here with this roster that we're all talking about how great it is because everybody's back, and everybody's come back and they've got their NIL deals all locked up and everything. They're set to have a big year. I really believe they are. And I'm not even going to talk about the schedule anymore. I'd say, hey, look, it's the SEC. You got to play somebody, right? Let's go. I'm kind of fired up the more I think about it. Think about last year. Florida had no first-round picks, right? None. We know that because they're going into this year with 5th-round picks in this draft. They played against 13 guys who are projected to 13 at least. Depends on who you read. 13 to 15. guys who are projected to be first-round picks, played against them. So, I mean, a lot of them, obviously Cam Ward started out the season, and who will be the first pick in the draft, who we didn't think was going to be that good and turned out to be great. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. And that was with guys who weren't first rounders, who were fifth rounders. So I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but I think this draft says a lot about how they've had to build the roster. And I appreciate the guys who either came in here like DK, Cam Jackson, or guys that stuck it out like Jason Marshall. So, I mean, it's a shame that things didn't work out for him. A lot of it had to do with injuries, certainly in Marshall's case. So, we'll see. We'll see what the draft shows, but it is interesting that Florida's not going to. It's not going to be one of those that the Gators are putting up on either what their video displays and everything. How many first round picks we've had, and they've had a lot. I think they're number 5 in the SEC overall in total draft picks. Oklahoma's number 1. I know you can't count Oklahoma. They had all those guys picked. They were in the SEC then. All right, number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Women's golf, which I've been paying a lot of attention to. They had an unbelievable match. They in the SECs, they got to the finals and lost in the finals. I was paying a lot of attention to it. Now that the news comes out that they are a 4 seed in the Charlottesville regional, and the top 5 make it they advance to the NCAA. So I think if you're a 4 seed, you're clearly good enough to get in. So hopefully they do get in. Hopefully they have a big year. Emily Glazer is doing a great job, and I really enjoy watching them play, but also watching them, just following their scores all the time. Maybe I'm a geek. I don't know. I'm a Gator geek, I guess you'd call it. I call people that are just say stupid things like they want everybody fired gidiots. And I'm a Gator geek. I'm not a Gator idiot. I'm a Gator geek. I don't know if that's worse or better. Anyway, so good luck to them. The top 5, if they get in the top 5, they go to the finals, and that'll be exciting for Emily and the team. A really good team too. Number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, the Rose Bowl. And this shows you the power of TV. The Rose Bowl doesn't budge for anything, right? They go, hey, look, we have our parade at this time. We play the game at this time. The sun sets over the San Gabriel Mountains, and it's the most beautiful thing. And we have it all timed up for exactly when we want that to happen. And we're not changing. And you better not leave us out. You can't leave us out of this. We have power. We're the granddaddy of them all. And then ESPN came in and said, hey, look, your game ran over last year, and it caused us to start the late game later than we wanted to, so you're moving up an hour. And they said, okay. All right, we'll start the parade a little earlier. I've been to the parade, by the way. It is pretty cool. I will say that. I'm not a big parade guy, but I went there one year when I was covering the game. So anyway, everything got moved up. So the first game on that quarterfinal 3 triple header will be at noon. I think that's the Capital One. I think that's the one in Orlando. And then the Rose Bowl will be at 4. And then at 8 o'clock, you'll have the other game, which I think is the Orange Bowl. I'm not even 100% sure on that. Really doesn't matter. What'll matter is you're going to have football for 12 hours. And that is going to be glorious. And I'm already looking forward to it. All right. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let us move along to our Leonardo's Tequila smooth move of the week. And of course, you all know Leonardo's Tequila. Urban Meyer's got a stake in this. And of course, Go Beyond is their philosophy. The coolest bottles anybody's ever seen. I will say this. In fact, I've got to get with Carr and get one of those bottles. I want to put one on set. I talked about doing that before, and then I forgot about it. So I got to get back with him on that. But anyway, our Leonardo's Tequila smooth move of the week, Joey Aguilar. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of this guy. He was at Appalachian State. I don't remember him. Quarterbacks from there tend to be forgettable, but I mean, that's a very good program. We all know that. So he transfers to UCLA and says, hey, this is great. Now I'm in the beach. I'm in Hollywood. Brentwood's one of the most beautiful campuses you'll ever see. I've been on that campus too. Went to a game at Pauley Pavilion one time. But anyway, he's got it made. And then this Nico thing happens. And he's going to UCLA, and he goes like, well, you're not signing him and paying him that money because you want me to start. So I want to get out of here. Hey, Tennessee's got an opening. Smooth move. I'll just go to Tennessee. And guess what? He is in a way better position than Nico Iamaleava because he's got better players around him. He's got better receivers, better line, better defense. Better head coach, to be honest with you. Deshaun Foster, look, his guys played hard last year, but they aren't. I didn't see any schematic advantages. So it definitely is a smooth move for Joey Aguilar to slide in over there at Tennessee. All right, let us move along to our Adams Ripco Gator of the Week, and I had it picked out, and then I got a suggestion from Ken Hesser, and Ken Hesser said, hey, here would be a good Gator of the Week, Adams Ribco Gator of the Week, because we all love our Adams Rib. In fact, our producer for the Tuesday show on the radio this week, was asking me where to go for ribs because she was really in the mood for ribs. And I said, yeah, there's only one place. Go to Adams Ribco. Man, the ribs are great there. But anyway, so I had somebody picked out, but then Ken made this suggestion. You know who it should be? Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman went to school at the University of Florida, is a Gator, and now is a GM for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just won a Super Bowl, and everybody's afraid to take his phone calls because if he calls, he must be gonna wheel and deal you, and it's gonna be like if Kevin Costner calls you on draft day, you know, and gets you to give up all your draft picks back. So nobody wants to talk to him. That's the reputation he's got. So he is going to want to be one of the big stories this week. But he certainly was last year. He's our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week, Howie Roseman. Appreciate him. All right, let us move along to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And this can be very simple. And you have until Friday at midnight to get this pick in, okay? I had to think about it for a minute. The draft is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday's the day that's going to matter for the Gators, right? I don't think anybody's getting drafted in the first 3 rounds, the first 2 days. So how many Gators go on Saturday is your call. You can do research. You can just throw a guess out there. I've seen 5, 6, maybe even 7. I've seen 4. How many go on Saturday? How many Florida Gators are drafted on Saturday in the NFL draft? Leonardo's and Millhopper. I have to go over there. I got to get some more gift certificates because Drew Barry actually reminded me, or at least he won one of the contests, and it got lost in the mail, which happens a lot with our mail. I will say that we have had a lot of things lost in the mail, including bills that then showed up a day later after the people were threatening to cut off my cable. But no, they never threatened that. Anyway, all right. So that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Let's move along to this, that, and the other, which is brought to you by our good friends at Shakow Insurance, and of course by Ballyhoo Grill. We just went there the other night, had a really good meal there, had a good time. All right, our this, that, and the other is that all of a sudden this settlement came out, and I think this thing blew everybody away. And I don't even remember. I would love to know what year that story broke. It was at least 2 years ago, I think, maybe a year ago. The settlement broke, NCAA, blah, 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 just confusing people all the time. But there's going to be a big windfall for players, not only players that are playing now, but players who played in the last, I think goes back to 2016, something like that, to be compensated. This all comes from the Ed O'Banion case and all the other cases and everything. So that was and then it just keeps going on. And every day we hear it's going to be done here, it's going to be done then, it's going to be done here, and look, it'll be done by April, it'll be done by this time, it'll be done by, and you're like, okay, just get it done, and then explain it to me again exactly where this money's coming from and how it's going to be divvied up and how many schools are going to have it just for football and how many schools are going to do this. Are we going to have transparent? All these are questions we want answered, but they have not been answered. And the other is they aren't going to be answered soon either. Well, maybe soon, but not right away, because the federal judge, her name, I think I wrote her name down. Claudia Wilkins, yes, federal judge, pretty big job. Does not like the way they're trying to cut the scholarships or change the roster sizes, and she wants everybody grandfathered in who is on a roster right now. In other words, you can't lose your scholarship just because of a federal court thing. And so she said, hey, look, I told you guys this before and you didn't do it. And there could be still more court fighting going on. Already the people representing the athletes in this thing have already said, hey, if we have to, we'll go to court again. I don't know when we're going to get this resolved. Hopefully one day soon. That is This, That, and the Other, brought to you by Darshackow Insurance and by Ballyhoo Grill. We appreciate them. Let's move along to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. You know BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialist. You know how to reach them at 727-383-1677 or their website, bmitelemed.com. Appreciate them. I am on that. I kind of plateaued a little bit, but I'm getting ready to. My biggest problem is like any dieting situation you're in. I've done this before and it works for me. I think it works for most people. But you can't just take it and weight melting off you. You're going to eat less because of it. It makes you feel full, but you still need to get some workouts in. And because of my physical problems that I'm having, my feet, it's been very hard to get workouts in. A lot of bone spurs and stuff like that. I know you don't care about me, but you do care about BMI TeleMed. I know that because a lot of you have called and talked to them and gotten an appointment with them and got it all worked out. And it's really, really good. I highly recommend it. Okay. Our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week this week is Will Richard, who was named to the Academic SEC Honor Roll, one of 72 Gator athletes. And I'm not bringing him up just because he's on the national championship basketball team. I'm bringing him up because I want to. How about that? He is the last guy who ever was on the last player at Florida who was on the NCAA Final Four team. God, I couldn't get that out. And was academic all SEC. Will Richards won because he was on the Final Four team. And these three guys, Corey Brewer, Al Horford, and Lee Humphrey, those were the last ones to do it. So they were smart moves of the week too. Will Richards, smart move of the week. Just being smart, man. Sometimes just people being smart is good enough for me. All right. Let us move along to our Hugh, Cain, Allstate Mayhem moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
He was up there with the bases loaded, and he hits one.
Okay, this was it. Luke Heyman. Now, this was funny because this walked off the game. Okay, Luke Heyman's bomb out of the stadium. But the game is not exciting at this point, right? But I've got it on, and I'm looking at my phone, just looking through things, and all of a sudden I see Luke Heyman ends it with a 3-run homer. I go, what? I'm watching the game. It hasn't happened. Is this from old? And I look up, and just at that moment, he hits it out, and there's mayhem on the field because there was probably mayhem in the announcer's booth too because everybody out there got to go home. But Luke Heyman, I'll tell you what, I love the season he is having. He has become a really, really quality catcher, and he has become a did you hang that? He has become a really good hitter too. I just really like what he's doing. So Luke Heyman could have been our Gator of the Week, but we made it Howie Roseman. But that is our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment. Let's talk about the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Yesterday, I locked up my man Kevin Carter. I cannot wait to see him again. I just saw him recently, but I can't wait to see him again. And he'll be speaking September 16th. So I'm still working on a bunch of other guys, as are other people at the club, and we just are trying to put together this all-star lineup. And we've already got a lot of that set up. Noah Brindise is going to come, Andy Staples, and of course you know that you can still get a trial membership. Eventually we'll get the date on Billy Napier, but it's going to happen. Laura Rutledge, Billy Donovan, all three of them you can hear speak for $250. Just go to membership.org, GainesvilleQuarterbackClub.org, and you can or just go to the website. It's the best way to do it, and that's the best way to find out what to do. Or call me, like I said. You can call me and I'll get you hooked up. But it is a great deal, and we can't wait to see what happens. Yeah, again, Kevin Carter locked up for September 16th, working on a few others. That'll be a lot of fun, and we have a great time at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I will tell you that. It is fun. It's funny. And it's special, and it helps fund scholarships for students, and they honor the high school kids like nobody else does. I mean, it's a banquet, the last thing of the year, the high school coaches and best players. I'm so happy to be a part of it. I really am. All right, let us move along to our swamp games of the weekend, and here they are. We'll start with Gator baseball. Friday, 6:30 is on SEC Plus. Saturday's game is at 3, and it's on the SEC Network. So if you don't get the Plus, you can still watch it. And then Sunday's a 1 o'clock game. That is on SEC Plus. Lacrosse is also on ESPN Plus. Their Big 12 matchup against Arizona State. I never thought I'd be saying those words. Florida against Arizona State. Big 12 matchup. It's a big rivalry in the Big 12. So that's at 10 o'clock, but it is on ESPN Plus if you want to watch it Saturday. Softball is playing a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday at 2, ESPN 2. Sunday at 6 on the SEC Network. Monday at 7 on the SEC Network. So you get to watch a lot of Gator softball. It's a big weekend for them and a big weekend for LSU, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. You also, if Florida gets into the match play finals, which I know they shot 5 under the first round, but I haven't checked what they're doing today. It's in progress, so there's no point doing that. But if they get to the finals, or even if they get to the semifinals, if they get to the semifinals, that'll be on the SEC Plus. And it usually starts early in the morning. In fact, if they get to the finals, it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, and that'll be on the SEC Network. So, look, if they're in the finals, I'll be watching it. And that's in the SEC tournament. And then baseball, the Sunday night game is that Philadelphia? I can't read at my writing. Sunday night, Philadelphia at Chicago. Yes. I got that in there for Ken. All right, that's at 7 o'clock on ESPN. You know, when I'm writing this stuff down and I get to the bottom of the notebook, sometimes I have a hard time reading what I've written because anyway, another thing you don't care about. What you do care about is that we got to another show. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time, and we always have a good time here at the Ponderosa talking sports with you, and we'll do it again on Monday. Again, Jimmy Hines will join us. Can't wait to see what his take is on all the stuff that went on in Knoxville this week. That'll be a lot of fun. All right. I'll be back on Monday. Until then, for Zach Rothrock, our great producer, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.